And that was in the beginning. Like my first year, I listed 27 homes. And 21 of those 27 were either for sale by owners or expired.
That's incredible. And you know why? You just decided to work harder than everybody else.
I went in there religiously. I called religiously. I especially like in the beginning it was real hard because I went on a lot of appointments and I was 18 at the time, clean baby face.
Yep.
You know, I have no idea what I'm talking about. There were so many awkward situations, stories. But eventually, you get somebody knows, someone said yes, and that gave me all the confidence to keep on doing it.
This was an awesome episode, guys, with Salah Amrani over at KW in Salem. Not even so much he's a real estate agent, but he's a young kid, super determined. At 18 years old, he was doing more in real estate than people that have been doing this for 20 years. So listen to his story. He's a super nice guy, hardworking, very successful. You'll enjoy it, and you can take a lot from it. Enjoy the show.
The mic drop.
Subscribe to success.
All right, here we are on another episode of The Mic Drop, powered by Premier Mortgage Lending. I am super excited about this one, Salah. So I've got my friend Salah Amrani on the show today. Salah's got a great story. Young guy who, right out of the gates from a very young age, started doing very well in real estate. And I'm not even excited about having you on because you're a real estate agent, to be perfectly honest with you.
Yeah.
But it's more so because, you know, at a young age, you were determined to do something, and you did it well. And I think that's awesome, and it shows a lot of people what they can really do. So we'll dig into it. Welcome, Sal.
I appreciate it. Glad to be here. It's an honor.
Yeah. Well, oh, that's nice of you to say. We'll have fun, and I want people to hear your story because it's a very interesting one, and it's a very mature one too. A lot of people at 18 years old, you know, are out, you know, fucking around, not being focused on anything at all for many, many years, and don't even start to focus for a full decade, you know, after you started really dialing it in. And I think it's pretty incredible, you know, and I think it's a really good story. So why don't you start by kind of letting us all know where you grew up, how you grew up, all that good stuff.
Sure thing. Yeah. So I grew up in Haverhill, Mass. Grew up with a single mom. I think that we'll dive into that more, but that goes a lot into the work ethic part of it. But yeah, I mean, I went to Haverhill High, graduated year of 2017. Before starting like my work career, I feel like not my work career, but starting work at 15 years old. Prior to that, like I would play basketball, hang out with friends, all that stuff. Had a really good time growing up. But when I got into, I want to say my sophomore year of high school, that's when I got my first job, and you know, really wanted to help out around at home and whatnot. So I wanted to really work as much as possible and take that serious. But yeah, I mean, sophomore year, started working. My junior, senior year, I picked up 2 jobs. I would finish school at 12 o'clock every day and then work from 12 to 10. One of the jobs I had was a convenience store in Haverhill, so they could pay me under the table. Because when you're that young, you're not supposed to work that much during a school night. But that's what I did throughout my junior, senior year. And I knew as soon as I finished high school, I wasn't going to go to school, but I wanted to do something that would be a little more of a real career, so to speak. And I just happened to stumble upon real estate.
Why did you know that, even when you were in school, that you didn't want to continue on going to college or you know, any type of trade school? How did you know that, and what was your thought process while you were in high school?
You know, most of it was, a big part of it was the financial thing. I didn't want to go and spend a crap ton of money going to college, but mostly because I couldn't. And I was already in a rhythm of working that I enjoyed. Like I did a good job saving my every paycheck I got every week, and I liked it. I had a plan when I was young. I said, you know, when I get in my mid-20s, I want to buy real estate from the money that I save. You know, so I felt like there was no need for it. I was just going to work my tail off 60, 70, 80 hours a week until I could, you know, do more later on.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a great approach. It almost became a cultural thing in the United States for the last 40 years, where everyone growing up was told you have to go to college, you have to do this, you have to do that. And it almost became to a point where people were, you know, going to more expensive schools almost to just like to say that they did.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, it would blow my mind when I'd hear about, you know, friends of mine's kids or whatever that would be going to, you know, BU or BC or, you know, Northeastern. I'm like, oh, well, what do they want to do?
Right. They don't have that figured out yet.
They don't even know.
Yeah.
But they're fine with spending $60,000, $70,000 a year, You know what I mean? And either one, if the parents are paying that, that's a shitload of money. But in most cases, they weren't. These kids are going to be riddled with
Student loan debt.
Saddled, riddled. You know what I'm trying to say.
Right.
Student loan debt forever. You know what I mean? And I like when I pre-approve people now for mortgages, I'll go to pre-approve someone who's 50 years old and still has a $200,000 in student loan debt.
That's crazy.
Like you never get out from underneath it.
And so one thing you can't go bankruptcy on
One
either.
thing you can't go one thing that you can't get rid of in bankruptcy is student loan debt.
Wow.
You know, so it's a big problem we have in this country. One, the cost of education, but two, the fact that everyone was convinced that they had to do it.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I think it was mature of you, but it was also kind of thinking outside of the box. You know, a little ballsy of you to say, you know what, I don't have to do that.
Yeah.
I don't have to do what everybody else does. And I think a lot of people, kids especially, right, think, you know, it's like almost like a peer pressure thing. I have to go along with what everybody else is doing.
For sure,
You know?
It was scary at the time because the jobs that I had, and it's almost I wouldn't want to say it's embarrassing. It's the truth. But when I was in high school, I worked at a Dunkin' Donuts and I worked at a McDonald's on Pleasant Valley Street in Methuen.
Not embarrassing.
And to say I'm not going to go to school and I'm just going to continue doing this for work, you know, people raise their eyebrows. Say you should really consider going to school, get a degree in something, and there is benefit to that for sure. But I was really committed to just working and you know, figuring it out.
And at that point, you're 17, 18 years old. That's
Correct.
why you're just working at Dunkin' Donuts and McDonald's.
Right.
You don't have to stay working at Dunkin' Donuts and McDonald's your entire life.
Right.
You know what I mean?
That's correct.
Which you didn't do, and we'll dig into that further. But I kind of like the mentality from the beginning. Let me ask you this: are you someone, because I didn't know that you grew up a single mom. I did as well.
Yeah.
Right. I got my first job probably at like 11.
Right.
And from that day on, I've always had a job.
Yep.
I mean, similar to you, I had multiple jobs at times.
100%.
And I've always enjoyed working.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah. Do you have the same one?
I
same
feel
feeling?
weird when I'm not. Like I don't know what to do with myself. If I don't have something planned for work or like feeling productive, I feel I get anxious. I don't know what to do. Like I need to be working and moving forward to something.
Yep. Let me ask you this: did you always do very well anywhere you worked?
Yeah.
Right. You're
Yeah.
probably the one that stood out the most because you took a lot of pride in your work.
I got a couple of plaques from McDonald's Employee of the Month.
Right. That's awesome, though.
Yeah, I worked real hard everywhere I worked. For
Yeah,
sure.
and that's it. You know what I mean? Because you really take a lot of pride in what you do. You know, I remember one job I had, and I've used this as an example before. I don't know if I have on the podcast, but a lady hired me to rake leaves in her yard, right? And she was this old lady too. She was probably like 80-something years old, and I was like 12. And so I show up to rake the leaves. It was actually a woman that like my mom knew from her work or something. And I showed up and I'm like, holy shit, there's like thousands and thousands of leaves in this yard. But I was like, the second I saw it, I was like, I'm gonna make this yard spotless.
Right.
Right. So I started raking. I was out there like all day long, right? And when I was done, there was not like one leaf on the lawn, right? And the lady was blown away. So she gave me $5, right? And I was like, oh my God, all day long for that. But you know what? I didn't even care because I felt good about the job that I did.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that's what people that work really hard do. And it sounds like that's a big key to your success.
For sure. And the satisfaction you get from the progress, right? You start 1 hour into the leaves, you see, oh my God, look how much better this looks. Right. Another hour. And you're like, at the end of the day, it feels real good to complete a job like that.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And another thing that you said that I kind of can relate to is, growing up, you need to get a job to
Help out. Yeah.
Either help out your mom or if you wanted anything.
Right. You don't have to ask all the time, can I do this? Can I go to can I get a snack? Can I, et cetera, et cetera.
Maybe it just wasn't even that much of a choice.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like when you're growing up and you don't have a whole lot, you know what I mean? Like I didn't have the luxury of saying, hey, can I have this? Can I have that? You know what I mean? So I was like, oh, I just go get a job and then I can just buy it if I need it.
Exactly.
And you felt the same way, I'm
100%.
sure?
I turned 16. I wanted a car really badly. Like every 16-year-old does. I didn't want to wait and, I had my mom carry the load of getting me a car.
Yeah.
So it was like, I'm just going to work my tail off, save what I can, go get a car. I need gas. I need to, do this and that. I could do it myself if I was, just working.
Yeah. I mean, so many people should listen to you and just kind of think about that for a second. And I'm not talking about just young people. I'm talking about like people in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s. Like if you want something, you just work hard enough to get it.
Right.
That's it.
Right.
So many people think that they should just wait around and somehow things are just going to magically show up.
Never happens like that.
Doesn't work that way.
Never.
Ever. So tell me, so that's great. That's how you kind of got going in your working career, right?
Correct.
how did you come about it? How did you fall into real estate? When did that happen?
It's a crazy story. And it's a true story. I had no idea a real estate agent existed. I didn't know that there was a middleman between buyers and sellers. That
So you didn't even know how the process worked?
no idea that there's a real estate agent. We never owned, we never come across real estate agents. My friends never owned. No one ever said, you never hear your friend's parents talk about, oh, my real estate agent.
Sure.
It just never existed. While I was at work, my 2 jobs, I'm at drive-through at each one. This guy came up at one of the jobs with a really nice Mercedes. And I always asked people when they had nice cars what they did for a living. I asked this guy, I was working at one job, and he came through the drive-thru. He told me he was a real estate agent. The next day, I go to my next job, different shift. That same guy pulls up to the drive-thru, so he sees me at both places. And I was like, oh my God, here you are again. And he asked me about, how much I work and about myself. And he said, you should really think about becoming a real estate agent. I was like, oh, what do you actually do? And he explained the process to me a little bit. I was like, how do I go about doing that? Went to the real estate school, ABC Real Estate.
Yeah, Randy?
Yeah. And that was probably 4 months after I graduated. I graduated in June. I got my license in October.
Yep.
And that's how I stumbled upon.
All from that conversation.
All from that conversation. If it wasn't for that
Who was that
conversation,
guy?
He was he's still a real estate agent at Remax.
Who is it?
Paul Analoro.
Oh, yeah, I know Paul.
Yep.
It's funny, we both grew up in North Andover.
No kidding.
Yeah, I've known Paul for 25 years. He's
the
a good
man.
guy.
He's a good guy.
He's a real good guy.
He's the one that kind of
So you
led you
owe
to.
all of your success to Paul.
I owe him a lot of coffees. A lot of coffees.
That's awesome. That's a great story.
Yep.
So you got licensed, and what happened from there?
Got licensed. I had no idea how the process worked, right? So I had my mass license. I went to a couple of places to interview, to go to sign on to a brokerage. I ended up stumbling upon Keller Williams in Salem, New Hampshire. Loved the environment there, loved my broker there, and said, this is where I want to be. I met 3 places. Once I got there, I was like, I don't want to interview anywhere else. This is where I want to be. They said in order to work here, you have to go get your New Hampshire license, because at the time, that was the way it worked. So I went and got my New Hampshire license.
Which is good anyway. Cause
Yeah, it was a bonus.
Being right where we are, you want to have both.
The funny thing is, I would say 80 to 90% of the business I've done is in New Hampshire. Yeah. Even though I've born, raised in Haverhill, all my time spent in Massachusetts, I don't do that much in Mass. Yeah. All my business in New Hampshire. But yeah, I signed on to the brokerage. I did all the trainings that they offered. I had, 3 months in, I'd quit the 2 jobs that I had. I had started getting some listings, and I could see myself.
How did you start getting some listings? You're 18 years old. You just got licensed. You didn't even know anyone that owned houses before that. How did you get listings?
Yep. So in real estate, from the outside looking in, it looks wicked easy, but it's difficult, right? Our job as real estate agents is to lead generate, to find people who want to buy and sell. And
anybody that thinks it's easy is crazy.
Right. And I, going into it, thought it would be easier than what it actually is. I think that's just a normal thought. Yeah. But my way of getting business was there was an agent at my office who was really good at cold calling. Mm-hmm. Who he would call sellers, homeowners, say, "Hey, I'm a real estate agent. Are you thinking about selling your home? Do you know anyone that wants to sell your home?" And this guy was a machine. Like, he would be in the office at 9 a.m. He would call all day up until 1 p.m. Go on appointments to meet those people that he called. Yep. Come back and do it again. And he was just getting listings every week, every month. And I was like, that's how I want to do my business. Some people do open houses, some people do a lot of social media, whatever it is. Everything's fine, but that was what I gravitated towards. Mm-hmm. So I started doing that. Go in my office every day, 8 a.m. I'd cold call people.
Who were you calling? Where were you getting the numbers from?
For sale by owners.
Okay.
If you post your house on Zillow as a for sale by owner, you're going to get a call from me. Still to this day, I will call. Expired listings, people who had their house on the market, I pay a first subscription to see all the houses that came off and get their phone number. And that was in the beginning. Like, my first year, I listed 27 homes. And 21 of those 27 were either for sale by owners or expired.
That's incredible. And you know why? You just decided to work harder than everybody else.
I went in there religiously. I called religiously. I especially in the beginning, was real hard because I went on a lot of appointments, and I was 18 at the time, clean, baby face. Yep. I have no idea what I'm talking about. There were so many awkward situations, stories. But eventually, you get somebody knows, someone said yes, and that gave me all the confidence to keep on doing it.
You can outwork anything. Right. So, in that example there, the way you were doing that is the same thing that I did years ago, and it's what I try to tell the guys here and other people in anything, right? If I wanted to meet real estate agents. So I just would call them all day long.
Right.
Right? So many people are afraid to pick up the phone.
Right.
You know what I
I've
mean?
learned that, yeah.
They're afraid to pick up the phone because it's so easy to just go like this, right? And think that if they text or email, things are magically going to show up.
Right.
You need to talk to people.
It's a real human connection when
Yeah.
they can hear your voice and and they hear yours.
It's incredible, though, how you could go and tell, I mean, hopefully you're telling a lot of people this that are listening here, but, you could go and tell 1 million real estate agents that.
Right.
They're not even going to do it.
Yeah.
That in 1 year, your first year at 18 years old, when you didn't know anything, you got 27 listings.
Yeah.
By showing up to the office every single day and calling from 8 to 1 or 2 or whatever, and people still won't do it.
Yeah.
It's mind-blowing to me.
Yeah, when I agree. And when I first started, and that was happening, like everyone saw it as like, and I don't say this like to sound humble, but I didn't think it was a big deal at the time because I was like, everyone was like, oh my God, this is amazing. Like, do you know, like this isn't normal? And I was like, well, what are we gonna do all day? Like, isn't this like we want to be real estate agents? We want to sell houses. This is just part of the work.
Right.
And I always, I always thought that it could be better. Like don't get me wrong, I was super grateful and proud of it. But that's all that we do is like we have to sell homes. That like for our business that's it. So you should do whatever it takes all day to get to that. So for me, it didn't seem like it was out of the ordinary thing. Now, obviously, looking
I love
at how difficult.
Say that, though. I do. I love how you say that.
Right. It was just like focus and work at what you want, and you get there. But yeah, I mean, looking back at it now, I understand that it's difficult, but it's still very doable for anybody.
I mean, it's difficult because working hard is difficult.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
But it's also a choice you can make.
Right.
It's funny. So many people that I talk to, in here when we do the podcast or other people, everybody that's successful says the same exact thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Most people came from a single mom.
Right. It's a blessing.
You know what I mean?
It's a blessing and a
or
curse.
some struggle early on in life, right? And I'm not even saying struggle in a bad way.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because I think my childhood was great. You know what I mean? But just some challenges.
Exactly.
Right? And then you learn that hard work is what's going to make you successful. And then you just stick with it.
Right.
And as much as you say that, you didn't even realize that was something out of the ordinary, it's because it wasn't for you.
Right.
It was just that, if you were working at Dunkin' Donuts and McDonald's hustling all day long, you got one result, right? Which was, your paycheck. But when you went to real estate, if you hustle all day long, you get much different results.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? That's fantastic. So year 1, 27 listings.
Correct.
Right? It's kind of funny. You're talking about Paul pulling through the drive-through,
Yeah.
right? In his Mercedes.
Yeah.
You got a nice Mercedes outside yourself now.
Yeah, that was So I'll tell
Terrible
you.
parking job. But.
Yeah, I'll tell you another true and funny story about
Please
that.
do.
So I got a great deal on that, and so Dunkin' Donuts on River Street. Are you familiar with Haverhill?
I am.
River Street, down the street from that Dunkin' Donuts is Smith Motors.
Yep.
And I'm working drive-through again. Lady pulls up in the most beautiful Mercedes this time, and I asked this lady, "Hey, what do you do for a living?" And she says, "I'm Ellen Smith," and I was like, "Oh." What do you? Okay, like that's awesome. What do you
That's
do?
awesome, Ellen.
Yeah, she's like, I'm the owner of Smith Motors, Mercedes.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh my God, that's amazing. And I said to her, I want to buy a car from you one day, and I will do that. And she was like, okay, when you do, here's my number, and call me. I'm ready for you.
Yeah.
November 2019. I wanted to get it. I was like, I was ready. It was 2 years into real estate. I called her and she gave me a great deal.
That's awesome.
And it came full circle.
I bet you were the best drive-through person ever. You know what I mean?
I was. Yeah.
Seriously, it's like everybody that pulls up, you're having these great conversations with them.
I met the owner of Benedetti's asking that question.
Yep.
I met a person that works or now manages Fantini. He also had a really nice car. I've met a lot of cool people on drive-through.
I bet. Just asking the question.
Yeah.
Hey, you're driving a nice car. What do you do for work?
Exactly.
But that's good to be inquisitive. That's how you get information too.
Right.
You know what I mean? Think about it. If you weren't inquisitive and didn't want to ask those questions to Ellen and Paul and all these other people,
Doors would have never opened up.
right?
Yeah.
Just by you asking those questions at a drive-through.
100%.
It's incredible the way
Life works.
the way like everything unfolds.
Right.
So year 1, 27 listings, which is fucking incredible, to be perfectly blunt and honest with you. I mean, people that have been doing this 20, 25, 30 years don't get 27 listings in a year.
Yeah.
That was year 1. So it was that 2018?
2018.
Okay.
End of 2017, 2018.
Okay. So you got full years 19, 20, 21.
Correct.
What the numbers look like in those years?
So my first year, I like volume wise, basing it off that, I probably did mid fives, and then second year I got up to low sixes.
Yep.
And then last year was
20?
Yep, 2020. First time I hit the 10 million mark.
Nice.
And then this year I'll do just under 11.5, 11.4.
400. That's
Yeah.
incredible.
Yeah.
That's incredible. And I think I saw that you bought your own place already, right?
I did this past June. And this was a goal of mine even before real estate was ever in the picture.
Don't worry, I'm not upset that I didn't do the financing.
You know,
That's
it was
fine. That's fine. That's fine. Not a big
There
deal.
will be many more, Mike. I promise you there will be many more. And we'll,
I'm just kidding. I like to put people on the spot.
no, we'll be sitting at a closing table on mine personally, and many more.
What'd you buy? Tell me about it.
I bought a multifamily
Yep.
in Manchester.
Awesome.
You know, I Manchester only because I think that's a great place for investment properties. You
Yep.
know, so that was a huge goal. Like I said, I'm currently living in one of the units.
Yep.
I probably won't be there for much, probably 6 months or so, and then go ahead and try to do it again.
Pretty awesome, man. 21 years old, you bought it?
My birthday was June 21st. I closed on it June 30th.
So you were, when you turned 21?
I was 22. I just had turned 22.
I remember the first time I met you a couple years ago, maybe 3 years ago, something like that. And you said your birthday was like in a few days. And I was like, oh, I'll take you out for a drink. And you're like, I'm turning 20. I'm like, get out of here.
That is true.
I was like, no shit. Wow. Because I was impressed by, the way you carried yourself and, and even just in talking to you, you know what I mean? You seem much older than your age, but it seems like it's also because you've lived a lot.
Right.
You know what I mean? That matures you fast, especially when you're out in the working world from a young age, and you work as hard as you have.
For sure.
So you got one multifamily now. How many units?
2 units.
2 units, right? So you're renting out the other one, probably paying for the building, right?
Correct.
For the most part.
Yeah, a couple $100 out of
$100,
pocket. Right.
Right. So you're probably saving a ton.
Yep.
To get ready for the next one.
Absolutely.
Yeah. What's your plan long term with investment properties? What do you want to do?
My goal, and it's a not far-fetched, I would like to think at this time being it's a big goal, but when I get to 25, I want to have 25 units.
25 years old?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you want to buy
Threes and fours?
Or do you want to buy a 10, 12?
I think 10, 12 will be after later on.
Yep.
I think for the time being, I'd focus on 3 and 4s to
Yep.
get to the 25, and then at that time, figure out see what that looks like, and figure out how to go forward from there.
Yeah.
But for like a 3-year goal, that would be it.
You're going to stay selling real estate to kind of fund that project?
That's the plan.
Yeah,
That's the
that's a
plan.
great plan.
Yeah.
Any other ideas, side businesses, projects you want to get into?
I want to do coaching real bad. I've actually,
Coaching?
I've explored what that
Yep.
looks like later on. But I would love the real estate coaching part. One, because one thing that's been the biggest blessing I think from real estate is that it taught me a little bit about myself, and I really do enjoy working with people. Like I cannot have a job. I can get paid 5 times more what I'm paid now, but if I can't be around people and socialize like this, I won't enjoy it. Like I genuinely enjoy we have a problem with a buyer or seller, and here's what our solution is. How do we get to that?
Yep.
I love those conversations and exploring. So I think coaching would be very cool as far as for real estate agents.
I think it's a great idea, especially if you're going to coach it in the way that you just suggested right there, because I don't even call them problems. You know what I mean? When things come up in these real estate transactions, like, oh, got a little bit of a challenge, something that came our way, right? As long as the approach from all people involved in the transaction is what's the solution,
Right.
then everybody's going to win.
Exactly.
Too many agents that I've dealt with over the years, something comes up and they're so worried about why.
Yeah.
Why did this happen? Why did it? Your fault? It's their fault. It's like,
It's irrelevant.
doesn't even matter.
Right.
You know what I mean?Maybe someone along the way made a mistake.
Right.
Okay.
Sure can happen.
How do we fix it?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? How do we fix it? I was out at a conference a couple months ago in Detroit, and Mateen Cleaves, who was a basketball player on the Michigan State national championship team in 2000 and played in the NBA for a bunch of years. He was the speaker out at. Let me take it back a step. We're out at United Wholesale Mortgage, the biggest wholesale lender in the country.
Right.
We send a ton of loans. We broker a lot of loans to them, and the CEO. This kid is an inspiration. The CEO, Matt Ishbia, he's a year or two younger than me. and he took the company from 12 employees in 2004 to 9,000
Wow.
now. I think he's worth something like 16 billion.
That's
right?
insane.
Yeah. And so he also was on that the national championship team in 2000, but he's like 5'10", you know what I mean? Like
No
little
kidding.
white guy, but was like the hardest worker ever, and that's how he got on the team, right? So he became buddies with all these guys that went pro and so on. And now some of them are working for him at his company. Mateen Cleaves was one of the guys, right? And so Mateen is he's essentially like a leadership coach,
Right.
type of thing for the company.
Yeah.
And so he came in, he was talking to the group that we were in, and he said, okay, he goes, you're driving down the road. And I thought this was the best analogy ever to problem solving. You're driving down the road, right? You're cruising along, you hit a patch of ice, you slide off the road, you go into the water, you go into a lake, right? The car's sinking down, right?
Right.
What is your very first thought?
Get out of the water.
I got to get out of this car.
Right.
Right? You don't sit there and start saying, well, you know, if the plow truck came and put salt on that part of the road, it wouldn't have iced up and this wouldn't have happened. No. I got to get the fuck out of the car so I don't die.
That's a great analogy.
You know what I mean?
It's
Like,
not why is this happening? It's how do we get out of this?
how do we get out?
Yeah.
That's it. You know what I mean? And if you can coach, you know, other agents or really anybody that you talk to in life, because I kind of try to spread that word.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, let's solve. What's the solution?
Right.
You know what I mean? Then I think you're just making the world and the business a better place in general.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, that's the way everybody should look at things. You know, rather than how do we get here? Well, what's that going to solve?
Right.
You know? So coaching something else you want to do. Have you thought about how you'll do it?
I really haven't, because it's something that's far down. You know, right now there's goals I want to hit for the next 3 years, and it's tough to get pulled in too many directions. You know, I think to do one thing really good, it needs a lot of focus and energy, right? So for the real estate sales, I still think I have a ways to go with that.
Yep.
But at some point, that coaching will happen.
You could do some online coaching. You
That
know
would
what
be
I mean?
cool,
Like,
too.
I know a guy in the mortgage space that does online coaching, and he's young. He's 26, 27 years old, and he's absolutely crushing it.
No kidding.
And he's one of the top producing loan officers in the country, but also does coaching.
He just probably time blocks a certain time
it.
where he's like, this is my mortgage time, this is my
and he
coaching
only
time.
coaches X amount of people at a time. You know what I mean? But that way there, it's like you'll gain more credibility as a real estate agent when folks see that you're also a coach at the same time.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I think the world is kind of accepting that younger people, you know what I mean, can have the knowledge and the expertise. You don't need to have been doing something for 20 years to be phenomenal at it.
Right.
You know? And it seems like you're pretty goddamn phenomenal at it.
Right. I think the time that you put in and the dedication that you have can outweigh, you know, your years in the business, right? If you focus every single day on learning and doing better, you can gain that knowledge, I think, faster.
No doubt. What do you like to do for fun?
You know, I work a lot, Mike. I do, but when I have fun, I hang out with my friends.
Yep.
I play some basketball. I'm a big movie guy. I like movies. But yeah, I mean, I'm a pretty boring guy. I work a lot and then just hang out here and there.
Well, that's
Shoot
all right.
hoops. That's still I still love my hoops.
Well, that's great.
Yeah, if I tell everyone if I could have picked my dream job, I would be a basketball player.
Yeah?
Yeah, I wish, but I'm too short and not that good.
Well, it's important that you have outlets to do things aside from work too.
Right.
Right. Because if you go too hard in the paint just with work and you don't have anything else to kind of help you decompress, sometimes you can burn out or get overwhelmed.
For sure, I learned that. I mean, because even before I did not have a lot of. I was bad at enjoying myself, like going and having fun early on as soon as I started working. And everyone along the way would say, you got to take time for yourself, you got to travel, do this and that. And I was like, I don't want to do that. But eventually, especially like this last year, like when all the craziness was happening with COVID, that was the first time I really felt a burnout of like, wow, I'm tired. Like, and I at that time started taking steps of like, all right, this is how I'm gonna like enjoy and unplug more. And it's helped a lot even this year and going forward to do that more.
Yeah, balance is important. Balance is important. What I've always found helps for me is, you know, I like to have a couple of vacations each year planned.
Before the year even starts?
Yeah, like usually like right around now, I'll plan something for like March.
Yeah.
You know, usually the family and I will go away somewhere warm, in March, right? And then at least a summer vacation,
Yeah.
right? And that way there, I know that if I'm working my balls off for the next 3 months, I've got a vacation planned,
You got something to look forward to.
right? I've got that week coming up. You know what I mean? And then I can recharge that week and then come back and say, hey, it's only 4 more months until we're going to North Carolina in July.
Let's kill it.
You know what I mean?
Head over.
And then always have something to, it helps. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you don't have a family or anything yet. You're still a young guy. But that's important too. Like for me, it's like I get home at night and I put the phone over in one spot on the counter for at least a couple hours.
Right.
You know what I mean? Spend time with them, then pick it up again later and take care of what I need to. So balance is important. You want to have a family down the road?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah?
Absolutely.
Yeah?
Get some mini Salahs. Absolutely.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
That's the goal.
Well, you're a young guy. You got plenty of time. No rush. You know what I mean? You got to have your 25 units.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Before then.
My mom rushes me sometimes.
Yeah? Yeah. Does your mom live with you?
No, she doesn't live with me. She lives in Methuen still.
Yeah. You like being able to take care of your mom?
Oh my God, that's huge. So my mom. I'll go a quick story about that because I want to give her a shout out. She came
please
here. So when I was born, her and my dad migrated here from Morocco.
Yep.
Moroccan, fully Moroccan. My dad left as soon as I was born. So there's me and my older brother. He's 3 years older. She worked every single day, all day at a pizza shop in Haverhill. From the day that, from as early as I can remember, 8 a.m. to 10 p.m., she'd pick us up from elementary school sometimes at 3 o'clock, take us with her to the pizza shop until she closed at 10. We saw her grind. So a big part of, the working early and really having the drive, so to speak, was to eventually at one point take care of her.
Well, you watched her do it.
Yeah, for sure, and with a smile, like a champ. So that was a great motivation growing up.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of watch the same thing in my house, and it gives you a reason too.
For sure,
It's like,
you
all
know
right.
your why.
Yeah, and I remember thinking, even as a young kid, I'm like, man, if she's busting her ass this hard every single day for us, you know what I mean?
What's the excuse?
What's the excuse? But I need to return the favor someday.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's what I need to do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I felt that responsibility. And it's good. That's a real good why.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Take care of your mom, and then as you get older and you have a family, take care of your family and take care of people. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's not all about making money for yourself. It's about making money so that you can be secure, and so can the people around you.
People that you love, for
Yeah,
sure.
it's super important. That's awesome. What else do people need to know about you?
That's it, man.
I mean, this is incredible.
I appreciate it. I do. I nothing else. I still on a journey. Life is a long journey. No way am I anywhere near where I want to be, obviously.
Yeah.
But there's a long road ahead, and I'm just enjoy the journey.
Yeah, that's awesome. What other? You said nowhere near where you want to be. Let's talk a little bit about where you want to be on the real estate side, right? Production, right? So this year you said you finished around a little over 11.
Yes,
Right.
under 11.5.
What do you want to get to? Give me the big goal you want to get to.
So I don't want to ever do a team. I don't ever
Okay.
think a team is a thing for me. Some brokerages really push that you should start a team.
Yep.
I think I want to stay an individual agent. I have a transaction coordinator, sort of like an assistant, so to speak, but not an assistant. And I think my peak will be like 20 million volume sales in a year, and probably be around 45, 50 houses in a year.
Yep.
I think that is where that's where my drive will end as far as like the sales I want to do as a real estate agent.
Yep.
And I think that's for me, looking at it now, I think that would be my ultimate.
When?
2025. By the time I'm 25, I think that's going to be my.
I
when
agree.
I look at it now, I really do think that's
So
what
2,
will be the peak.
3. Let's do 2024.
2024.
Yeah, 2024. You can do that.
End of 2024.
For the year.
Yeah.
For the year, you hit your 25 million.
That would,
I think you can do that.
I will shoot for it.
You
I
know,
will.
I think what's super important is setting these goals, yearly, and breaking them down backwards, and having a plan and how you're going to execute. And if you do that and you lay that out, knowing the way you work, you can do that.
Yeah.
No
Holding self
problem.
accountable.
Yeah, holding yourself accountable. Once you write these, write your goals down. I have everybody here do it. Write your goals down. Share it with somebody else.
Right.
You know what I mean? I actually read a book years ago. Lillian Montalto down in Andover?
Oh yeah, Lenny. She has her own brokerage.
Yeah,
Yep.
Lillian. Her husband, Bob Bolin,
Yeah.
right? He was the top agent at Prudential. This was, I think, 90s into early 2000s. Top agent at Prudential, 11 out of 12 years in America.
No way.
The top agent, right? I mean, think about that.
That's
so
a
11
lot
out
of
of
houses.
12 years, out of thousands of agents, you're number one consistently, right? So Bob wrote this book. You should look it up. It's called Clarity.
Clarity.
Yep, Clarity. I read it years ago, and it's about setting goals and accountability.
Right.
And basically, what you do is you set these goals, you write them down, and then you share them with somebody that you respect, and they're like your accountability partner, so to say, right? And they follow up with you once a week, right?
Check in what's your progress look like.
Right? So then it gets to a point where you're like, you don't want to let that person down.
Right.
Right? So one, you don't want to let yourself down, but two, you don't want to let that person down. You know what I mean? I asked my wife's father to
check in with you?
Yeah, be my accountability guy. And he would call me every single week and run through it with me. And I'd be like, shit, I can't tell Kenny I didn't run these appointments or do these calls or do this or do that. And sure enough, I hit every single one of them. Right. So you should do that, man. Like make a list of all your goals. Your 25 units, your by 2025, your 25 million by 2024. How are you going to do it? Break it down and share it with somebody.
That's a great plan. I will do that.
Yeah.
And I'll follow up with you when I do.
Yeah.
I really will.
I'll be your accountability partner. I'll call you every Thursday.
That would be a great accountability partner. I get a call from Mike. I don't want to disappoint Mike.
Yeah, it would be fun. I would like that.
Awesome.
All right, cool. Where can people find you if they want to buy or sell a house and they want your help?
They can email me or they can call me directly.
Okay.
That's the easiest way to get in touch.
All right, we'll post your email. Are you on social media?
I am on social media. I'm on Instagram,
Yep.
Amrani Fine Homes, and Facebook as well, Amrani Fine Homes.
Okay. All right, people, if you need help from Sal, give him a buzz. The kid's a super hustler. I mean, I'm super impressed with what you do. It's like
Appreciate that.
I wanted when you reached out and we were talking about the podcast, I wanted to have you on not because you're a real estate agent, but because you're somebody who's been super successful from a young age by working hard, and I respect it a ton. And you're going to do big things, and I bet you blow that 25 million away, no problem.
I appreciate that, Mike. I do.
man.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, guys. Enjoy the show.
The mic drop.
Subscribe to success.